Whenever you apply for a job these days, and I haven't applied for a job for many years, but I know that some of you have, and some of you who are students will be in the near future. And when you do that, they often have aptitude tests or psychological assessment. In fact, when you enter the seminary to be a priest or to study to be a priest, there are psychological assessments, and they do all these tests to see what sort of person you are, how you would fit into priesthood, or in the case of employment, how you might fit into an employment situation. Imagine if the 12 had to apply to be disciples. So we're given a list tonight of all the disciples, and then Jesus invites them to go out and to share in his ministry. But before they became disciples, let's imagine that they had to have a psychological assessment or some sort of test to see, aptitude test, to see whether or not they were suitable. Well, Jesus did this. He sent them off. He didn't really, but just imagine. To have these tests. After the tests, a report was written of the 12. And it goes like so. Dear Sir, Jesus, thank you for submitting the resumes of the 12 men you've picked for management positions in your new organization. All of them have now taken our battery tests. We've run the results through AI and also arranged personal interviews for each of them with our psychologists and vocational aptitude consultants. The results of all the tests are included, and we advise that you study each of them carefully. It is the opinion of the staff that most of your nominees are lacking in background, education, vocational aptitude for the type of enterprise you are undertaking. Besides, they do not have the team concept. We've found ample evidence of jealousy, rivalry among them. Therefore, we would recommend that you continue your search for persons of experience and proven ability. Simon Peter is emotionally unstable and gives into fits of temper, and definitely is not the man you would want to head your organization. Andrew is absolutely not qualified for leadership. He's just a follower. The two brothers, James and John, are too hot-headed. Besides, they place personal interests above company loyalty. Thomas demonstrates a questioning attitude that would undermine morale. Matthew, the tax collector, is undoubtedly a man of ability, but would project the wrong image for an organization such as yours. James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus have radical leanings, hence their unsuitability. There is one candidate, however, who shows great potential. He's a man of ability, resourcefulness, good with people, has a keen business mind, and has contacts in high places. He is highly motivated, ambitious, and responsible. That man is Judas Iscariot. We recommend him as your controller and right-hand man. We wish you every success in your new venture. Yours sincerely, Jordan Management Consultants. You see, none of them were perfect. They were all, in fact, very imperfect if they were being graded today and sought for a position such as this. But all of us too are like those 12, a little bit imperfect. And yet God chose them to head this organization, if you like, the church, which has remained steadfast in his teachings for 2,000 years. And he entrusts that church to you and to I today. Now, some of us might be a little hot-headed. Some of us might not be the right temperament. Some of us might want our own interests above in others. We're no different to those first 12. But despite that, Jesus called them and he calls you to share in his ministry. Selfishness. I'm an uncle 6 times over. And I just had to do the maths quickly. Yes, it is 6. 6 times over. And one of the things I noticed when they were little children is that children are quite selfish. Actually, I've noticed that about a lot of adults too, but that's another scenario. When you see children, and many of you are parents or grandparents or uncles and aunties, and if they're playing with a toy, why is it that the other one always wants the toy that the other one's got? And when they get it, they don't seem to be overly satisfied. It takes a couple of minutes and then they're distracted by something else and move on to another toy. Why is it that we are so selfish? And even at a very young age, it's almost that we need to relearn how to be selfless. You see, in the gospel, when Jesus invited the disciples to go out, he invited them not to take anything, but rather to give what they had. He was interested in them helping others, not what they could get from others. So he told them to proclaim the good news to others, to cure the sick, to raise the dead, to cleanse lepers, to cast out demons. All those things were for others. It was not about them, themselves. And at the end, Jesus says, give without payment because you received without payment. Jesus invited those disciples, all those rogues, those imperfect characters, to give what they had been given. Now, we all have gifts, and they're all different. And they need to be different because the body of Christ, the finger needs the eye needs the ear needs the nose needs the foot. We all need each other. But whatever gifts you've been given, they're not yours to benefit from. They're gifts from God for you to share with others. You've received without payment, Jesus says in the gospel. Now give without expecting payment. You see, children have to learn how to not be selfish, how to give their toy to their brother or sister and wait their turn for their time to use it. But as adults, we too need to keep relearning that lesson of not being selfish, but selfless. We're called to live for others. The life we have, the gifts we have, are not ours. That's what the world would tell you. Yes, it's yours, and you should accumulate as much as you possibly can. That's the gospel of the world. That's not the gospel of Jesus Christ. His gospel says, you've received these wonderful gifts. Now share them. Give them away. They're yours to give away, to spread all over the place. Those wonderful gifts you've been given. You remember the talents. You know, some guy receives 1 talent and he buries it in the ground and he says, there you go, there's your 1 talent. One guy invests it with another one. I've doubled it, now it's 2, and another one triples it, and so on and so on. And Jesus is happy with the ones who have been wise with their talents, who have used their talents. And so each of us are different. I don't have the gifts that you have. And you, some of you might, but some of you don't have the gifts that I have. We're all very different. But the gifts I have aren't mine to profit me alone. That's a me, world lie, selfishness. The gifts I've been given and you've been given are for you, selflessness. So I encourage you this week to think about the gifts you've been given and how you actually share those gifts with others. You don't have to be perfect to be a disciple. I've said this numerous times, and that quirky little story illustrates it perfectly. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be generous. Give what you have, and the Lord will use that.